Good morning. Welcome to our Survivor series. We are always looking for great content for you to help you look better with your clients, help you advise your clients. And when I meet amazing humans, I want to introduce you. So, Becca Seabolt is somebody that I have met recently who is now my go-to girl for all things insurance. She has already saved us twice in a month on some huge things, saved one client $2,000 a year. And then I recently saw her do a presentation where she talked about the things that you need to know about insurance, and both from an auto insurance perspective and from a homeowner's insurance perspective. So I asked her to join us so that we could learn some tidbits that we can use to help improve the lives of our clients. So welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you so much for having me, and thanks for your warm introduction. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My clients that have worked with you so far have been super happy.
Oh,
So let's start with homeowners insurance, since that most of the folks who listen to our call are real estate agents. So what are some of the things that our clients need to be thinking about from what questions to ask for when they're trying to get homeowners insurance? How can they save money? When shouldn't they save money?
right.
That kind of stuff.
There's a big difference between savings and value, and that's one thing that I like to talk about a lot. So it's always great to save money, and there are definitely ways to do that. But you also want to make sure that you have your home properly insured. So if it's going to cost $600,000 to rebuild your home, you don't want to have it insured for $450,000 and have a loss. So having a good evaluation of what it realistically will cost to rebuild your home is really important. And there are tons of different ways to save. So on home insurance, things like bundling with your car insurance, that can save you, depending on the carrier, like 10 to 22% off your home insurance premiums. Having an alarm system, your claims history. So that can follow both the individual and the house. So on high value homes, especially if there has been a water claim, you're going to want to take a look at that.
So let's stop on that for just a second, because that comes up quite a bit. So a client can have great credit, have no claims, but if they happen to be buying a house that has had a lot of claims on it, that can dramatically increase the cost to get insurance on that house.
So it really depends. So if they've had a lot of claims on that house, it depends on what kind of claims have been on that house. And the underwriting team may ask for something from the home inspection or something showing that whatever caused that claim is addressed. So like I recently had one that had a water claim on the home. Well, underwriting requested to know what caused the water claim and that issue had been addressed to show that it's not like faulty plumbing or something that's going to be recurring that could make it more difficult to insure or a higher risk to insure.
So I think that's something that's super unique about you, because I would say 9 times out of 10, when a client goes to quote their insurance, the insurance agent isn't going to ask those questions. They're just going to quote back that the higher amount. Am I incorrect about that?
So every agent's different. And so, it's something to look at is the reasons that the premiums are what they are, and take a look to see what you can do. And there's just, there's not a one size fits all. It depends on the person, the case, the background. That's why it's good at the very minimum to talk to an agent about your specific circumstances, because there are so many different variables when it comes to insurance.
So in that case where you do the extra work to try to figure out what caused the claim, and I think you told me once you can find database and you can find information in different places that helps you figure out what actually happened, that if you provide that information, now you have in-house underwriting, which allows you to communicate more back and forth on these type of issues with your underwriting team.
Yeah, so I have a direct connection to underwriters. Some of our carriers have assigned underwriters that deal just with us, or I have one person for that carrier that I'm going to talk to directly, so that I can communicate these things and get things done quickly. I don't think that I have anyone that it's going to take more than 24 hours, unless it's a crazy case, to get an answer back from underwriting and get things looked at and taken a look at to see what we can do and what's going to work out best.
Okay, so what do you think is next in the process of preparing to get your house insured?
So I actually have, if it's okay for me to go ahead and present, I've got a few slides on this to give some information.
Go ahead.
That I've got all put together. So let me see if I can get this pulled up.
We might not have tested this part, so we'll see.
We didn't test this part, but that's okay. We went to, but just to make it a little bit easier, because there's, a ton of different things. I want to make sure that I'm going over everything.
Sure.
But when you're taking a look at your house, if you're buying a new home, your credit is important. So, they go through you. Credit does play a big factor in premiums and rates. So you're not getting a hard credit pull when you do insurance, but they are pulling what's called a consumer history report, which does include credit factors. So let's say at least a month or two before you're looking, hopefully if it's a new home, you're going to be taking a look at that. Pay off any debt that you have, if that's a possibility for you. I've got that over here just so that you can, there's our team, but we get to the home insurance tips and auto insurance tips. So, pay off any debt, because it is very credit driven these days. So insurance is getting very picky. So it is a market that's a little bit tighter, than I've seen in a long time. I've been doing this for 5 years myself, and I've got a couple of agents in my office that have been doing it for over 20 years. This is the hardest insurance market we've ever seen. And so it's very credit driven. And if you're buying a new house, they've worked with you, they've looked at their credit, they've made some improvements to do what they need to do. So if you're just reshopping insurance, maybe take a couple of months before, pay down credit cards and debt that you have to increase that credit score, because that's going to help, and it might save you hundreds of dollars on your insurance premiums having that slightly higher credit score. So that's one thing to do in preparation, probably both for buying a home and for reshopping your insurance.
Excellent.
And that's both home and auto, so that applies to both.
So when you say bundling, you're talking about adding in your homeowners and your auto insurance.
Yes. So having your home insurance and your auto insurance with the same carrier is often going to save you a significant amount. So when you shop with a broker, and the difference between a broker is, so I am an independent agent. We're an independent agency, which is a broker. So I've got access to over 50 carriers. Mm-hmm. So I can take a look at what you need and then shop and compare rates between carriers to see who's giving you all of the coverage at the best price. Yeah. So then having your home insurance, your auto insurance, your umbrella policy, if that goes into play, under one carrier, you're often going to get significant savings for that.
And I do want to talk about umbrella before we get out of here this morning. Would you say, off topic a little bit, but insurance is up overall pretty dramatically? Isn't it 20% or so over previous years, or do you have? I'm totally pulled that number out, but it's high. What do you? So
I haven't totally pulled that number up, and it varies by carrier. But I know some carriers have taken 20 and 25% increases, and so it really is the time to shop your rates, because everywhere has taken an increase. It's up, not just in Georgia, but especially in Georgia, all over. There have been major increases, and there are ways to mitigate that cost, like the defensive driving courses. We actually offer one online through our website for free. Taking a look at your claims history, being mindful of filing claims. There are ways, bundling to mitigate that expense, and then shopping rates. A lot of carriers offer discounts for doing their analytics program, like Snapshot from Progressive. It's an analytics program, so you can download an app. They monitor driving habits to give you an extra discount. That's something to talk to your agent about, to weigh the pros and cons of that. So there are options to mitigate costs, but it is up all across the board.
Okay. So what else can we do?
So another thing that you can do is just make sure that any updates that you've done to your home have been noted. So like if you've had your roof updated, even if it wasn't through a claim, if you've updated your HVAC, if you've had updates of plumbing, electricity, things like that, make sure you notify your agent. If you have devices, pretty popular now are like the smart thermostats. There's actually a discount with a lot of carriers for those, like Nest. If you have water sensors, that's going to notify you or auto shut off your water if there is a flood, there's discounts for that. So anything that you've done, smart updates to your home, roofing updates, plumbing, electricity, just make sure you notify your agent, because those can get you pretty significant discounts as well.
Okay. That's all news to me. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go back to umbrella, because I'm super, I'm a super huge advocate for umbrella policy.
Right. So am I.
Umbrella policy is a policy that once your auto insurance runs out or your homeowner's insurance runs out, that in terms of your liability coverage, your umbrella would jump in to make sure that you were covered in more extreme situations.
Right. So you have your auto insurance limits, your home insurance limits. For auto insurance, we recommend a minimum of 100,000, 300,000. And then on your home insurance for liability limits, we recommend a minimum of 300,000. So once that goes, and what a lot of people doesn't realize, if somebody gets hurt on your home, if you have a dog that bites someone, that's going to fall under your home insurance limits. If you have teens that get into a car accident, those liability limits, they can go pretty quickly. And so this covers you on top of those home auto for at a minimum $1 million in liability coverage. And that includes paying for attorney's fees. So those can add up pretty quickly: attorney's fees, medical expenses, liability. So I really recommend an umbrella policy to most people, and they can be as inexpensive as $150 a year for coverage. So pretty inexpensive. And in some cases, you actually get a discount for adding an umbrella policy, so it offsets the cost of the premium altogether. So,
right. It's super. To me, it's the cheapest insurance, stress reduction.
Yeah.
It's and then I have a bunch of rental properties. Some of my folks know. So my umbrella policy covers I have commercial liability too, that covers all the rental properties, because God knows, right? Like, basically, in my humble opinion, with a umbrella policy, you are buying an attorney, right? Like, you're buying with an umbrella policy, you've got somebody advocating for you when you're in a crisis situation, because they are on the hook, and they have highly skilled attorneys at their disposal to help you solve and resolve any problems. And sometimes you just need an attorney on your side.
Sometimes you do. It's just one of those things that it's you hope that you never have to use insurance in general. Like, I hope I never get into a car accident. I hope a tree doesn't fall through my roof. I hope I'm not going to get sued for something. But if it does happen, you want to make sure that you're properly covered and you have everything. That's not the time to worry about coverage. You're planning ahead for peace of mind in the event of a crisis.
Right, exactly. So one of the things that I heard you say was that sometimes people want to do super cheap stuff on their policy in terms of how high they want their coverage to be. And I get that, right? We all want to save a dollar. That right now, the insurance market is so unstable that could hurt you down the road.
Right. So a lot of times I hear people, they were like, I just want state minimum liability, or I just want the minimum coverage. And that's not great for a couple of reasons. One, it's probably not going to cover you realistically to the full extent you need to in the event of an accident. Two, carriers right now are very particular about what they're looking for. And some carriers are now automatically declining people that want to switch to them if they have lower than $100,000, $300,000 in coverage. So there are different ways to save. And what I recommend to people is, you want your liability limits set to that at least 100, 300. So if you're looking to save, you can raise your deductible. You can save in other places, take a defensive driving course, as opposed to lowering your liability limits. So there are still ways to save without having less coverage than you actually need.
Right. And because it can cause you to not be an ideal candidate down the road.
Right.
In terms of and this, y'all have to realize that the insurance market is super unstable, in part because of all the crazy storms and everything, all the things that are, I guess, caused by global warming that are, these insurance carriers are dealing with all the crazy in Florida. They're dealing with all the crazy in the Midwest and the wildfires on the East Coast and on the West Coast. And it's just complete chaos. And so, insurance companies are really good at their jobs if they can predict what their outflow is going to be, right? If they can figure out what it's going to cost to cover their claims, then they can be competitive with each other and get you a good price. And we're all sharing the liability. That's the whole point of insurance. It doesn't work so good when they have, $1 trillion of claims that they have to handle. And just so y'all know, if you're thinking about buying a house in Florida, a ton of carriers have pulled out of the state of Florida altogether. Are you licensed in Florida, Rebecca?
Yeah, so we are licensed in Florida, and we do still have some carriers that are writing both Florida and Georgia coastal. It is more limited, it is more expensive than it has been in previous years, but we do still have options for that right now. So we can write both coastal Florida and Georgia.
So I think these are good conversations to have with your clients when you're just reaching out and just touching base is,
Absolutely.
how are your insurance payments? Because the other thing it's going to work on, what's going to happen to the clients is that it's going to screw up their escrow account. So not only is the tax bills right now are insane. I have no idea why the counties all need 20% more money right now than they needed last year. But like technically, if you are going to increase the values, you shouldn't have to charge as much in millage if you're not spending all the money. So I don't really know what's going on at the county level from that perspective, but the tax bills jumps across Georgia counties are crazy. So between the insurance jumps and the tax payment jumps, clients are going to have really messed up escrow accounts in the next year. So they're going to be, because when your escrow account gets messed up, they don't just charge you the amount that's higher. They also have to do that for the projected year. So it's a double hit on whatever was the projections were incorrect. So as you're talking to your clients and you're doing your check-ins with them, I think that's a good topic. We are happy to help them look at analyzing their escrow accounts and give them an idea as to what to expect, what they could do to deal with it. A lot of them don't understand it. So some of them don't know that you could write a check to do the catch up. And if you wrote a check to do the catch up, then that would stabilize your payment. Not that everybody can write a check, right? But at least we can go through all those options. And if in the meantime, we can get them some lower insurance, then we could potentially go back to the mortgage company and have them reassess the escrow account so that we could get those payments minimalized. So we are happy to have those conversations with the clients, and Rebecca is happy to, let's get aggressive in what we can do to help clients. So are there some coverages that people don't think about having that you think that people should think about?
Oh, absolutely. So, and what you were saying about escrow accounts too, when I touch on that for a second. So when you're switching home insurance and you've paid through escrow previously, what some people don't realize, and I get a lot of questions about, is they'll get a refund check from their previous insurance company. Well, escrow has already paid that. Sometimes the company will refund it directly to the escrow account if it was paid by the escrow account. Sometimes they'll refund it to the insured. So if you are switching home insurance companies in the middle of a term and you receive a refund check, you may want to look at going ahead and paying that back into your escrow account so you don't get hit with that later. So
that's one thing that's a super important point, which is that people think you can only switch insurance when it renews. You can switch insurance at any point, and then you get a prorated refund from the previous insurance company based on the day that you took coverage with the new company. And by the way, you have to notify the previous company. I'm sure Rebecca will help you with that. But,
yeah, absolutely. We have forms that we can fill out and send them and help you with that process. But there are some coverages that people don't think about. Like they just assume, with home insurance, everything under the sun is covered, and that's not true. So one that is really prominent that I put on every policy that I write is backup of sewer drain coverage. So if you have a sump pump, if you have backup sewer drain overflow into your home, that is not covered under a typical home insurance policy. And you will not have coverage for that unless you have that endorsement on your policy. On average, the endorsement, when I see it, costs maybe $30 to $50 a year at most. So it's not an expensive add, but it's something that I recommend everyone have. Another is mold coverage. So most policies have a limit for mold or mold remediation coverage of around like $10,000. Realistically, it's probably going to cost a little bit more if you have mold, if you need to do remediation. So I recommend having an endorsement on a home insurance policy of at least $25,000, especially in Georgia if you have a basement. Because, you get mold, you get things that happen that you may not realize. And if you're going to have mold remediation done, it's probably going to cost you more than that $5,000 limit. So those two coverages, they're not expensive to have, but if you have a loss, it's going to cost you a lot if they're not covered and added onto your policy.
All right. Excellent. All right. Well, we're getting close to our 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Anything you want folks to know? First of all, we'll definitely send out your contact information and we'll have it in the YouTube. But do you want to give them how to find you? Oh, look at that.
Yeah. See, I was prepared. So I stole a bit of my presentation that you heard and added it up here for this one. But so it doesn't hurt you in any way to get an insurance quote. So it's a free service. You're not paying for a quote if you want to reach out. It's always good to know where you are and have an agent review your coverage. At least once a year. That way you can talk about, have you had any updates to your home? Have you done any additions? Like, is your policy accurate as it is? Do you need more coverage? Have too much coverage? And that doesn't cost you anything. It's a free service as a licensed agent. So anyone that has questions or wants to reach out or maybe just wants to have their policy reviewed to know if they have enough coverage, I'm more than happy to help. It doesn't cost anything. I'm fully licensed to do so. And I mean, that's what I'm here for. And, I love talking to people and getting to help and making sure that they're on the right track and they're properly covered. And again, hopefully you never have to use your insurance, but if you do, you want it to be there and you want it to be in the correct amount.
Excellent. All right. And as we know, we all need professionals in lots of areas of our life. So y'all can slide Rebecca into your family business professional world. All right. Thank you so much for your time. We will let us know if anybody out there has questions, and thank y'all for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Susan, for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye, Becca.
Bye.